This is an audio check. The event will start in approximately 8 minutes. Again, this is an audio check for everybody there. We will be starting the event in 8 minutes. This is an audio check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Do you hear audio? 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
national anthem is going to be sung here. They're going to be staying there the whole time until the national anthem is complete and they take the call. If that's the right phrase. Okay. Vernacular, okay? So does everyone have or run a show? This is slightly out. The order's correct. It's just it's missing the Native American song. Background. That might need to. That might be able to. Yep. And so responding. Yep. Speakers in. You got to have a bar. We're walking in after the drummer. Yeah, I mean, it's actually. Dave, I need it to be on that.
Oh, okay. Just for the shot.
But the bottom line is it could be moved about. So wherever it's best,
after the drummers are finished, I'll move it back here.
Yeah.
Okay. So for now, I'll keep it right there.
Actually,
that's not bad, right?
Shot somebody in. Yeah. Maybe just leave it. It would be nice if it was there for the national anthem. And the national anthem is going to be sung right here. Oh, yeah. Okay. Right after the drummers are done. Well, after the drummers are done, the procession's going to come and they're going to stand there. Okay. During the procession, they can walk it. So it'll be there for the national anthem. Yeah. After they stand, then the national anthem. So it'll be right here. That gives us time. And that it should kind of remain somewhere down. Then we'll leave it there. It's just that opening drum shot. I want to get it. Okay. So, about that. Yeah. No, I'll All right, everybody, this is the Indian microphone. We don't need handheld stuff. No, let, you're going to move this in a bit. Yeah. No, go ahead here because you'll be the first speaker. And Randy. Oh, perfect. But she's gone.
Yeah. Well, she's checking out the microphones and stuff.
Okay. All right. You guys got it? Okay. Uh-huh.
Marcel.
Oh. Marcel. Don't run me over. You can change that in a minute. Marcel? Do not run over our congresswoman.
Oh, no, let me not get in your way.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Wanakoptanko wa chakin. En kama kantanka, apeto kile wokiksi. Oyate ya tukteo. Wakipa, na wichunkiksa. Apeto kile tona lel hipi kile na. Wokiksi kile galaha mauni tikte, kokata ke. Na oaya kile na chekchen na ku. Na wokiksi ki ha yohamani tikte. Na kantanka nishnala ni wakantanka. Was agunyapo. Na tonal hipikle na. Akek ta ke glakton khatan glakt. Tagani shittish. Ona tiata na kueta kapi na kuish awokikse yo hapi. Pilaw ya pelota ku ki hunya ni ha wechetwelo na ku ye yasin.
Manakapi. Well, first of all, Ihaniwashte. Good morning, everybody. I want to welcome everybody here today on such a historic event. We're really moving fast on Indian time. We're only like 20 minutes over. So I mean, we're rocking this. So what we're going to do next is what we came here to see, and that is the Buffalo Soldiers presenting the proclamation to the Wounded Knee Descendants. So thank you. And as a person that organized this, I got it all wrong. So here's what I tell people. You know, there's only one person, one creator that is perfect. And by you doing something perfect all the time, you're mocking the creator. And I can tell you, I do not mock the creator at all. So you're going to see plenty of mistakes. So with that, I'd like to introduce Tara Cooks to say a short poem. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning. I present this piece that I wrote from my heart to my Lakota family, as well as to the rest of the Native Americans. This is called Apology. They say that everything happens for a reason. I was fighting for a place that I belonged, a new place I had to call my home. But I was fighting for my freedom too, and so I chose to defend my country, and therefore made an enemy out of you. Yes, they say everything happens for a reason, but the shedding of my brothers for the sake of who belongs, there can never, never be a reason. For that, I apologize. I apologize for the hate because I really had none. I apologize for the sorrow because both sides lost, so I felt your pain too. I apologize because although I was fighting for what was rightfully mine, you were fighting for what already belonged to you. They say that time heals all wounds. Sometimes time is more of a reminder than a healer. How do you heal a wound that has been cut through generations? How do you heal a wound that has festered segregation? How do you heal a wound where one side has been pushed off its land and the other side has been told where it can't stand? How do you heal a wound doused with alcohol and no Band-Aid big enough to seal it? How do you heal it? You don't. Instead, you let the scar be a reminder of your injury, and let your injury be a reminder to the generations to come not to repeat history. Let the injury stand because we can't erase history, but we can apologize for it. I apologize for it, and to you, and to you. We cannot undo the wounds, but we can acknowledge it and accept it. No, not agree with it, but accept it. I'll show you my scars if you show me yours. I'll put my scars beside yours along with my weapons of harm. Instead, I'll embrace you with the comfort of my arms. Again, I apologize, because we can never undo what was done, change what was suffered, get back what is gone. I can only say that I am sorry. I'm sorry. And from this day forward, may I stand with you and never against you. I'm sorry. May peace forever be our guide and bind all that we do. This is my apology from me to you.
Okay, now, by the way, can you feel the ancestors? Okay, now we're going to do the proclamation by the Buffalo Soldiers Association to the Wounded Knee Descendants. So if the descendants could please come up here, and they will read you the proclamation and the presentation.
Good morning, everybody. Proclamation of the National Buffalo Soldiers Associations. With solidarity and reverence, the Buffalo Soldiers Associations, on behalf of our members, families, and friends, and the descendants of the 9th and 10th Cavalry and the 24th and 25th Infantry Regiments of the U.S. Army, proclaim our unwavering support of our Native American brethren. Our proclamation is a humanitarian gesture, not a political one. Anger, fear, and untruths are dividing our nation and endangering the democracy for which some of us have fought and died. The darkness that pervades our national conscience awakens us to proclaim our unwavering support of our Native American brethren and stand for the sentiment embodied in the Remove the Stain Act. We honor soldiers of all colors, national origins, and religions. And we pay our most heartfelt respects to the Native American veterans whose heroics are honored by the solemn National Native American Veterans Memorial that we are blessed to preside at today. The act pursues rescinding medals of honor awarded to those American soldiers who perpetrated the horrific decimation of 300 non-combatant young men, women, and children of the Lakota tribe at Wounded Knee Creek. The act honors those lives lost. It dishonors a dark tragedy in our nation's past, and it serves to heal open wounds. And it moves the arc of our nation's path towards peace and justice. The suffering at Wounded Knee Creek has in some ways passed across generations. We mournfully read of the pervasive sadness that persists among the atrocities, or that persists among its descendants. We know too well that people can remain traumatized today by the atrocities that occurred long in the past. We just mourned the centennial passing of the Tulsa Race Massacre in 1921, in which a neighborhood of blacks perished with their homes, promises, businesses, and legacies at the hands of a violent white mob. We also understand how reparations, even symbolic ones, can provide restorative healing. Sometimes old scabs must be torn, revealing painful truths before regeneration can take hold. We recognize that our African American and Native American ancestors had a complicated history, both favorable and antagonistic. Specifically, the Buffalo Soldiers were engaged in more than 160 battles and skirmishes, pursuit campaigns, and roundups of various Native American tribes from 1870 to 1890. Major battles included conflicts with the Cheyenne in Kansas, the decade-long and brutal Apache War of the late 1870s and early 1880s, and the Drexel Mission fight on the Pine Ridge Reservation in 1890, the day after the Wounded Knee Massacre. The 9th and 10th Cavalry and the 24th and 25th Infantry Regiments participated in more than 30 years of bloody and occasionally severe combat exclusive of the Wounded Knee Massacre. We also recognize that some of our ancestors fought and lived in cooperation. The Florida Seminole communities often gave safe haven to escaped African slaves fleeing from their owners' pursuits. The Africans, or joint forces, repeatedly repelled slaveholder posses and the advancing U.S. Army. The Africans taught natives rice cultivation, and the groups formed an agricultural and military alliance. Many Native American nations on the eastern seaboard of the United States became biracial communities.
By pledging allegiance to our country, our members do not relinquish their right to forcefully fight for equality, justice, opportunity, freedom from suppression, and respect. Native Americans' forceful demands for the same treatment do not diminish their patriotism. Those ideals are not mutually exclusive. Ask the relatives of those memorialized at the Native American Veterans Memorial, or those that lay wreaths for the 450 Buffalo soldiers buried at the San Francisco National Cemetery. Today, both of our communities suffer the disproportionate impact of climate change, COVID-19, insufficient health care, racial profiling, obesity, drug abuse, joblessness, lack of economic opportunities, insufficient educational resources, voter suppression, criminal injustice, neglectful elderly care, and historical lack of political representation. Such commonality fuels our allegiance to each other's cause. We are honored to voice our presentation of the proclamation at the National Native American Veterans Monument on the 145th anniversary of the Battle of Little Bighorn. Our nation's healing begins not far from where it was recently torn apart. Let this be the first step in honoring the commonality that unites us, rather than the fear which divides us. We march together not to forge a perfect union, but to achieve the promise of a less imperfect one.
We now stand alongside our Native American brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers, and sons, and of course daughters. We march with them on the right side of our history and the right side of our justice. Our ancestors fought a combatant in war, and now we come as brothers in peace. Thank you.
Can you guys stand right here, please? Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. For sure. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, thanks, but I don't want to have Marcella get up, so if you come over and... Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yeah.
Hoka, you can feel the ancestors. This was such a historic event, and as I said before, we were former combatants, and they have come here, and we have reached out, and we now have friends, family, allies. And so that's why this presentation, this proclamation was so important, that it bonded people of color that have issues that are going to be walking together in the future, not just this generation, but you saw the younger generation. So we will, continue this. And I really want to thank Tommy and Tara and Aaron for them taking the time to present this proclamation. With that, I'd like to introduce Congresswoman Sharice David, the only, I have to say this before she gets up, the only now Native American woman in the United States House of Congress. And so if you can give Sharice a big round of applause, we really appreciate her being here.
Good morning. Okay. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hani washte. I lived on Pine Ridge for a little while in Porcupine. And I used to joke that I felt a little embarrassed that I knew more Lakota than I did Ho-Chunk. But so I'm really, really, really honored to be here with all of you today because what a powerful way to heal or to start healing from what is clearly the long, complex history that our country has. We have so many people, Black and Indigenous people, who have fought for a country that we have often not been welcome in. And so I really appreciate the efforts that are being made here today and the healing that's happening. And it's not lost on me that we're, that this is 145 years to the day of the Wounded Knee Massacre. And I think that to see the way that the resilience of our people and of the Black folks in our country to be able to still be here, to come together, to fight for justice, to fight for equality and equity, and to stand in solidarity with each other is, I feel, a true testament to the ways that we work together to overcome the trauma that we've been hearing about this morning and that we're living through right now. I want to also acknowledge what an honor and privilege it is to get the chance to sit next to and to meet First Lieutenant Marcella LeBeau from she served in World War II in the U.S. Army Nurse Corps. And as someone who was raised by a mom who served in the Army for 20 years, it's such an honor to be able to get the chance to spend some time with you today. And all the work that you've done for Indian country with IHS and serving our country is absolutely not gone unnoticed, and so many of us appreciate what you've done for us. And actually, can we give her a round of applause? So I'm Ho-Chunk from Wisconsin, and I just mentioned my mom was in the Army, which is how a Ho-Chunk ends up in Kansas, in case anybody's wondering. And so I feel like I need to, I don't know where our drummers went, but just thank you for our drummers today. Yeah, there we go. So I don't want to take up too much time. There's that joke. Don't give an Indian a mic. It's true. And now I'm a member of Congress, so like, so I want to bring up the Remove the Stain Act, and my colleague Congressman Kai Kahele is here today, and I'm sure he's gonna talk about it too. But the Remove the Stain Act is I feel a really important way for our country to acknowledge when we've done something wrong. And I've signed on to the bill. I'm going to help push to get this bill passed because there are certainly reasons for our service members to be awarded medals of honor, and what happened at Wounded Knee is not one of those reasons. So we need to fix that. And thank you, Congressman Kahele, for introducing the bill and for pushing so hard to make this happen. And I feel like I can't leave without just thanking every single one of you for coming out here today to get the chance to be at the Native American Veterans Memorial on such a beautiful day, for such a beautiful ceremony, for so much healing and solidarity. This brings a lot of healing to my heart and a lot of just spirit. And I spend a lot of time out here in DC, so thank you. Thank you for that. I'm going to actually, I don't know who I'm turning it over to. Oh, okay. You know, I also don't want to, I'm not trying to make it perfect, because I would never try to put myself anywhere near the Creator, so thank you. Congressman Kahele? I'll go this way. So thank you for that.
E ho mai, kaiki mai, luna mai e. O nā mea huna no ea o nā mele. E ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai, kaiki mai, luna mai e, o nā mea huna no ea o nā mele. E ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai, kaiki mai, luna mai e. O nā mea una no ea o nā mele. E ho mai, e ho mai, e ho mai. Aloha, ka kahiaka kako, o kaili kahele, ko inoa, no hilo mai au. Good morning, everyone. Mahalo for having me. That oli, e ho'i mai, was composed by Master Kumu Hula and cultural expert, Auntie Edith Kanaka Ole. And it is an oli that in Hawaii we use to start ceremonies and days like today that allow us to call on our ancestors, our kupuna, to give us the power and give us the strength and to center our focus on what we're doing so that we can do the kuleana, or the responsibility that we have to get something like this done. And it's commonly started in Hawaii at hula halau and with kupuna. My name is Congressman Kai Kahele. I'm from Hawaii, and it's an honor for me to be here today. This is my very first time coming here to this aina, to this land, to this building, to this place. And for myself as a native Hawaiian, I wanted to make sure that the very first words that came out of my mouth when coming to this place is the calling to my ancestors to come here today. Here on the grounds, and I need to find it, is, as I understand it, 4 very important pohaku, or rocks, that have come from different places throughout the country, and one of them is from Hawaii, and it's here on the grounds. And so it's something that, and it was brought here by the Kanaka Ole family, the daughter of Kumu Edith Kanaka Ole. So that's something that I intend to do today before I leave here. But, you know, it's an honor for me to be here today, and mahalo nui loa to my colleague, Congresswoman Sharice Davids, for inviting me. You know, it is a historic day, and we stand together here at this sacred memorial in solidarity to correct history by shining a bright and really disinfecting light. And it's great that the sun is right on me, you know, because I feel it, and I'm sure you all feel it as well, on those atrocities that happened over 145 years ago. I want to extend my gratitude and recognize the National Buffalo Soldiers Association for this proclamation and support of rectifying past wrongs for the descendants of the Wounded Knee Massacre. You know, as a Native Hawaiian serving in Congress, it's my responsibility, it's my kuleana, it's my pilina to act as a voice for my ancestors who have been silenced like many of your ancestors. And so I humbly ask for the honor of not only lifting up my people, but our people. I was honored to remove the Stain Act in the United States House of Representatives, which will rescind 20 Medal of Honors that were unrightfully awarded to members of the United States Army 7th Cavalry following the Wounded Knee Massacre. As a proud veteran, a 20-year veteran and a member of the House Armed Services Committee, the Medal of Honor is the most prestigious and the highest award and recognition that the United States military bestows on those that have served. And make no mistake, there was nothing, absolutely nothing honorable about the actions of those soldiers that day 145 years ago. And so we must restore the honor to the Medal of Honor by removing the stains of the past. At the end of the day, we will not allow this injustice to pass on. I'm committed, as much as my colleague is, to getting this through the House of Representatives. We will not leave this to our children to deal with. We will deal with this now. The pain and hurt cannot be a part of our legacy, and we will not pass this on to the next generation. So, mahalo for having me. Aloha. Hoput. Mahalo.
Oh, and Congressman, if you wouldn't run off, I've been asked for by the Descendants if you and Sharice would step up here, and what they would like to do is present you with some gifts from the Lower Muskogee Creek tribe in Georgia and the Wounded Knee Descendants.
Wow.
And then we're going to go ahead and present it to the Congressman.
On behalf of the natives, we want to thank you for all that you're doing for us. And this will never be enough to thank you, but we want you.
And I said it would be short because I know you guys have votes.
Oh. Ms. Davis, on behalf of the Oglala descendants of our tribe, I want to present you with this gift of our flag of the Oglala Lakota tribe.
present you this gift.
Oh, thank you
It's
so
just
much.
the archway into the mass grave. Wounded Knee. This is originally from one of our artists, Wounded Knee. And we thank you for all your support.
Mahalo. Take a picture.
I can hold it. Yeah.
I can do it. Yeah, I'm okay. Well, yes. Can we get a picture of you and the Descendants? Can we get all the Descendants up here, please? Yes, I want you to stand right by me. Don't hit no one with your cane.
Unless we get out of line.
Yeah. No, I don't want to tell her that either. Marcella, you want the chair to sit on?
Oh, yeah.
And would you know?
I'm okay when I'm standing up. I'm okay.
No, sit down, young lady.
Because I have a hard time.
Oh, uh-huh. Dina, get in there. Where are all the Descendants? Where's the, I don't see the young ones. Get over here. She gotta find you every time. Yeah. Wait one more second for the Buffalo Soldiers. And where is...
Watch your blanket. It's getting wet. Yeah.
You gotta get your little Polly.
Because I'm short. Okay.
Don't get your pants wet. Thanks, President. You done?
Thank you.
Thank you very, We'll do that now so we'll have
What is your name? Lana. Yeah, Lana. Violet. From Cherry Creek. Yes, yes. Whoever's wanted.
Yeah. Oh no. This is my daughter, Dawn. She does all of our all the reservations. Well, thank you very, very much.
Okay, did you get her chair?
Yeah.
Feel it sometimes.
What about that sounds old?
I can blame that on tears.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Brian's going to take over for Nakima's spot instead.
No, I just moved it down.
Okay, so
Yeah. Otherwise, I'd really be too confused.
I don't want to do that too.
All right. As usual, we're right on time with everything, and you can thank me for that because I'm such a good organizer and I keep people going. So about midnight tonight, it's not going to be so high. I just want to let you know there is some deal going on here. So with that, what I'd like to do is introduce the next speaker, and that would be Marcella LeBeau. Many people don't know about Marcella, but Marcella is 101 years young, and she is a World War II veteran, and she was an Army nurse, Normandy, part of D-Day, Battle of the Bulge. And so when Marcella tells me to do something, I move faster than I've ever done before. So with that, I'd like to bring Marcella up and let her say a few words. And I got you a chair, young lady. There she goes.
Thank you. This is my granddaughter, Raya. She's my right-hand soldier. Good morning, everyone. This is a historic day, and I'm so glad that we are able to be here in support of the bill, Remove the Stain Act. And our people have been through a lot in this country, beginning with the doctrine of discovery. When people came in here thinking all this land was open and free, they gave us the name Indian. We are not Indian. We are natives. So many things have happened to us. My great-grandfather fought in the Battle of the Little Bighorn, rain in the face. They were defending themselves, and they won that battle. And we won that flag. My great-grandfather forebear signed the Fort Laramie Treaty of 1868. They gave him an allotment of land, our own land. They gave it to him. He was to stay there, and if he left, he would have been shot as a hostile if he didn't have permission to leave and to come back. And then along came the Dawes Act. They opened up all the other land, open and free, they said, for non-Indians. They didn't give my grandfather more land. He had to stay there, become a farmer, change our way of life, change our diet, take away the buffalo. And then we got diabetes. And they say that the first case of diabetes was recorded in 1919. How many years is that to change our way of life? And now we have diabetes at epidemic proportions back home. So many things have happened to us. And I'm looking for all of you folks and your support to change this for all of us. We have that bill now, Remove the Stain Act. And we're hoping for great rewards from that. So things should change for us, and we need that. I gave a talk at Wounded Knee when we brought the ghost shirt back from Glasgow, Scotland in 1998. One of the things I said was, We look to the seventh generation to rise up, cast aside despair, and I can't remember the rest of it. But I'm looking to the seventh generation on all of the folks to support Remove the Stain Act. And so this is a great day, and our friends, the Buffalo Soldiers, we're all together now. And I will thank you all for being here. And thank you, Raya, for standing beside me. Thank you.
We've been putting this together for quite a while, and we reached out to a lot of tribal leaders. But you have to understand, today is June 25th. This is the anniversary of the Battle of the Little Bighorn. And so there was, a lot of other things going on. But, I said this last night when we talked. We have President Kevin Killer from the Oglala Sioux tribe here, that not only representing the descendants from Oglala, but also on behalf of the Rosebud and on behalf of the Cheyenne River. It's always a pleasure to ask Kevin to come here and ask him to speak. So with that, I'd like to introduce you to President Kevin Killer of the Oglala Sioux tribe.
Ropila, Halmadak Yalpi, Maka Ikila Yimie, Chante Washte Nape Chuzapilo. I shake your hand with a warm and good heart. My Lakota name is Close to Earth, and my English name is Kevin Killer. It's an honor to be here today. Thank you, OJ, for doing this. Thank you to all the Survivors Association. Thank you to our Buffalo Soldiers in the back over there, that association, and it's just really important. And one of the things, and I know we're kind of on a tight schedule, so I'm not going to go too long today, but, one of the things that, I was thinking about, and, and Miss Abrams, thank you for being here. The only reason that we're here today is because of unity, like unity around elections, unity around registering to vote. And that's how, I really met OJ, and making sure that, he was, we were both on the mutual plane that, if you could turn out the native vote in South Dakota, you can do a lot of good stuff. And OJ was there for me all the time. He helped get other people elected to different positions in South Dakota, outside of not only the federal level, but also the state level. And one of the other things that was really amazing is that you've seen how strong your voice was, as you came forward. And I was sharing with the survivors last night that, I had a chance to go to Ghana, and and the reason I went to Ghana is that, I felt like there were so many people who came to Wounded Knee, and kind of experienced our pain, felt our pain. But as an indigenous person, what is it like to go to somebody else's land and experience that same kind of that perspective? And so, I went to the slave castles. I went with people for the first time. They were setting foot back on their own homelands, in Ghana. And that was such an amazing experience, because you got to bear witness to that whole experience, of a person who grew up here, who was African American, actually going back to their homelands. And that was such, that was so profound for me, because you got to see, not only the joy, but also, that hurt. And you got to see, understand how, systemically this was important. But, I hearken back to the elections, is that, we've received a record investment from this administration. And the only reason that happened is because of states like Georgia, because of Miss Abrams' works, because of groups like, some of the other election groups that we have coming up here. And that's so important, because, it gave us a chance to unify. But you saw the different congressional people that came up here, and they're in different leadership positions. But it's only because that, because of Georgia, because of us coming together. So imagine if we could come together on other stuff and begin to look at how do we rectify some of this hurt, some of this healing, and how do we make sure that we stop it today, and make sure that, for the future generations, they don't have to go through struggle through the same fight, And again, I just appreciate all of my constituents for being here, not only for the survivors, but also for Leonard Peltier, and making sure that we remember him too, what he's going through, but also it's Victory Day for us in Pine Ridge, So So hello to all my relatives back home celebrating Victory Day. And thank you again, OJ. Appreciate all of you. And Wopula for this having this event, because it's so powerful. It's such a meaningful thing, and it's the start of a healing journey. And that's the best thing. You know, our ancestors prayed for us to be here, to get together, and to make sure that this happens. So Wopula Hejitilo, Mdakiase.
Thank you. I did a run of the show, and I know I passed it out, and then I called people up, and they go, "That wasn't supposed to be me." No. You know, it's with great honor, and I'm really humbled to introduce the next speaker, and that's Dr. Janine Abrams McLean. And she has really been a friend to us. She reached her hand out to us, and I really appreciate that. And as Kevin said, we are uniting. And I always talk about they have multiracial panels and stuff, and we had one time. And you know, we had the Asian Americans, we had the Latinos, we had the blacks, we had the Native Americans, and I got a hold of the guy I work with. His name is Brett Healy, and he's as white as snow, and yeah, and he's right there. But what I said was, you need to go up there, and he goes, "I can't go up there." I said, "Brett, white's a color, all right? You're going up there." And what I'm getting to is that we all have to get together. I mean, there's things that we're all fighting for that are the same. And all of that is humanity and love for one another and wanting people to have a decent life. Not much to ask. But with that, Dr. McLean, will you please come up?
Thank you. Thank you, OJ. I'm just so full today. This is just such a powerful experience, and I know there's much more to come. So I do have notes because I will get off track. I just want to say give a special thank you to OJ, Barb, and Cherie for inviting me and allowing me to be a part of this. I'm Dr. Janine Abrams McLean. I'm the Vice President at Fair Count. We're a nonpartisan nonprofit that was founded by my sister, Stacey Abrams. And at Fair Count, we believe in building long-term power in communities that have been undercounted in the census, underrepresented at the polls, and those whose communities are torn apart during redistricting. Our CEO, Rebecca DeHart, and I believe that these communities deserve their fair share of power, and that civic engagement is the way to obtain it. But I want to make one thing very clear today. We're not bringing power to any of these communities because that power never left. Some may think that they've done a good job of taking power from the undercounted, underrepresented, and disenfranchised communities. They see folks, Black, Indigenous, and other marginalized communities as powerless. They may think that their history and current methods aimed at systematically stripping our power have been successful. They may believe in their hearts that their hateful words and physical attacks have rendered people powerless. They may imagine that their efforts to strip us of our culture and our identity, either on the plantation, in boarding schools, or through revisionist history, have been successful and have left us lost and weak. They may foolishly think that the massacres at Wounded Knee Creek 130 years ago and in Tulsa, Oklahoma 100 years ago left Native and African Americans broken and without power, without hope. They think it left us powerless. They can think that, believe that, and imagine that all that they want, but they are wrong. Our ancestors were strong. Our ancestors, they did not break and they did not lose hope. Our ancestors imagined more and created futures that they clung through the darkest days and the most horrific nights. And they passed those visions down to us, down to their children. I know this because I was 16 when my great-grandmother passed away. She was 96 years old, and I heard her stories. I heard the same stories from my grandparents and from my parents. They taught me through their stories and through their actions. They taught me our history, the good and the bad. And they never let me think for a moment that I was powerless. Times have changed, but there are still those who want to do everything that they can to make people believe that loss is inevitable, that defeat is inevitable. Some of their strategies, as we're seeing, are blatant, or some of their strategies to deny our strength are blatant, and some of their methods to diminish our power and our drive are more nuanced. But I can tell you this, all of those strategies will fail in the end. Excuse me. Try as they might, century after century, decade after decade, year after year, our power remains. And more importantly, more essentially, it continues to grow. All we have to do is recognize it, claim it, and then teach everyone else how to do the same. When we see our communities disproportionately impacted by COVID-19, racial profiling, health disparities, voter suppression, and insufficient community resources and criminal injustice, this is a call to action, a call to service. Each challenge is an opportunity to harness our power by demanding equity and fairness, by making sure our communities count, and by working to ensure that we can choose elected officials that will truly represent the needs of our communities. But more important than that, we can work together to guarantee that that we share and multiply the power that we deserve. As today's proclamation said, we must march on the right side of history and the right side of justice. And if we do that, and if we do it together, we'll build a power that will last for generations and generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. McLean. And because we're live streaming and stuff, we won't get into your work at the CDC right now. We
don't need to do that.
Okay, okay. You know, I'll say it again. I mean, you can feel the power not only of the people talking here, you can feel our ancestors. And this is a Veterans Memorial. And I wanted to point out that it's not only Native American, it's Alaskan Natives, and it's Hawaiian Natives. And if you saw our speakers today, you know, we got it all covered. So with that, our next speaker is a dear friend of mine, Manny Ironhawk, and he is with one of the Wounded Knee Massacre descendants. And what you're going to hear now is you're going to start hearing the descendants tell their stories that were passed down to them. And you know, it's going to be hard for them because the fact is they've carried this for generation to generation, about 130 years now, coming up in December 131. So, you know, please be respectful and listen to what they have to say. Help.
Petu lila aste na ha ya I mitaki ob wongla kapiktina leon petu kina. I want to greet my friends and relatives today, and I'll put this up. Yeah. Thank you. Okay. Today is just full of emotions for me. Recounting the story of our grandpa. His name was Ghost Horse, and he told us our grandma survived that Wounded Knee. And she told her story. So This is how I came to be. This is how I can relate the story. So imagine you're in a lodge and you and your grandma, and you hear these shots a long ways. So your grandma stood up and grabbed you by the hand, and he said, Kakoja, grandson, we have to go running. So they went to the nearest ravine, and they ran as far and as fast as they can. That's what happened at Wounded Knee. A lot of our relatives didn't make it. They were hunted down, a 5-mile radius. Our women and children, they were killed too. So in the case of my grandpa, him and his son, they ran. They went to a thicket to hide. And in that thicket, there were already some people in there. And so my grandpa said they all cried in there, inside. And then my grandpa said, I have to go back out there. I have to help my relatives. And his son wanted to go. He said, no, Chingshi, you stay. Son, you stay. But Chingshi said, no, I want to go and I want to help. So they both went out. A little while later, just the grandpa came back. And the grandpa cried. And he said, Chukshi Tepalo, my son was killed. And the story continues on and on, you know. But today, we have to have healing. We need healing. For 130 years, we carried this from generation to generation. My mother read the story, tells the story, and she cries. And so I said, someday it needs to stop. It needs to stop. And with the help of all of our allies and our brothers here, we have hope. Hope for our children and grandchildren to continue and remember what happened at Wounded Knee. Our ancestors are here with us today. I know that. They're here. They're listening. And we, as descendants, we do the best we can. We do what needs to be done through prayers and ceremonies. And remove the Stain Act. I believe it's going to pass because our ancestors are standing behind us. It's going to pass one day, and then we still got to move on. So today is the Battle of the Little Bighorn, June 25th, 1876. I had two grandpas in there too. Iron Hawk, Little Bird. They fought in that battle. And they went with Sitting Bull up north to Unchimaka, Canada. And I remember them today. I said a prayer. What they defended, a way of life from encroachment and taking and fighting for our land and culture and language. That's what they stood for. So I'm very humble today. Like I said, I'm full of emotions today, and I want to thank everybody here, and we will continue on. Thank you.
I forgot Manny was next. I should have got one of those big, long extensions. Thank you, Manny. Next, I'd like to introduce Principal Chief Vonnie McCormick with the Lower Muskogee Creek Tribe. And, you know, I want to thank Vonnie personally when we went to Georgia. You know, she reached out and she was just, you know, she was our guidance and helping us every step of the way. So thank you, Vonnie. And with that, you know, I know you see like Wounded Knee, we got people from different states, different organizations, but this is about not really organizing, it's about uniting. And so what you're hearing today is people uniting, and that's the point we want to get out. So with that, Vonnie, could you please come up?
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be a part. You know, I too have a story that is very precious to me. My people, all, you know, the land that the United States is on belongs to the natives. And we became exiled in our own lands. Whenever they began to come into the state of Georgia and to settle, we reached out our hands in friendship, and we helped them with different things to try to teach them how to survive. We did not know that what they would do was to take our lands. They gradually began to make treaties with us. We have treaties with Spain and with France and with England. And then whenever they began to settle the colony of Georgia, the colony made 3 treaties with us. When you read those treaties, they took our land, our mineral rights, our water, anything that they could take. They put it in that treaty. So we began to realize that we were in a land that we didn't know anymore. It became illegal because the state of Georgia made it illegal for us to even be in the state of Georgia. We had to have a visa to even travel in our own state. We had to have a visa, and we could only be over in one county in Georgia and only fish in the Chattahoochee River. This was foreign to us because we had free reign. We didn't know about fences, and they began to fence us in. Well, they didn't like the way we worshiped. We worshiped in the open like we are today, so our prayers could go to the Creator. They didn't like that either. So they began to say, we have to civilize them and put them in this little box, this church. And so that's where they wanted us to worship. They didn't want us to carry on our ceremonies, and we had to hide if we carried on our ceremonies, or we would be killed. They began to remove our people and made a treaty in 1832. And they said, we're going to move you to the west, over at this really great land west of the Mississippi. And you're going to live there. Well, you know, if they had a thought about it, if that land was so great, why didn't they go there? No, it was ours. So a lot of our people did go to Oklahoma. But the 1832 treaty, Article 12, said that we could stay if we so desired, and that nobody could compel us to remove. So we stayed, a lot of us, and we couldn't speak our language. We couldn't identify. They taught us to be farmers. You had to share a crop. And it was a new concept to us, that now we are enslaved in our own lands. So it's difficult. It's hard not to have emotions. Today is a day of healing to all of us. We have to come together. We have to realize that we are all brothers and sisters. If you look at the little emblem that OJ is wearing, that's a medicine wheel. It's red, yellow, black, and white. That is the United States of America. We're all red, yellow, black, or white. We're all people of color. And we have to learn to live together. And no one is better than anyone else. One day, my background is I have a doctorate in theology. And one day I was praying and I asked God, you know, I don't feel anything. Who am I? And I prayed that for days. And one day I said that prayer and I felt arms come around me and it was the warmest feeling. He said, you're my child. And this child of God wants to make a difference in this world. I want us to come together as brothers and sisters. Let's fight for the justice that we have to have. We are not less than anyone else. My Bible says God created the heavens and the earth, and He created man. He didn't say He created one better than the other. We all come from one man, one woman. I don't believe that I come from a monkey or anything else. I believe that God created me. He is our creator. Our people believe in one creator. And that's who we are. We are the Creator's child. And we have to fight for those things that are unjust to us because we're all walking the same ground. And we need to have the even playing field that all of us need. And we all need different things. And so, if nothing else comes out of today, I know that I have brothers and sisters all across this world that are fighting for the same thing. We hold one another's hands, and together we are strong. So that's what I want us all to do, is to hold each other's hand. When one is sad, let's lift them up. If I have a piece of bread and you don't, I give you part of mine. We learn to share. We have learned to be an individual and not look out for our brothers. I believe God made us our brother's keeper. I believe that I have to reach out to you and to give to you as I have. And God will reward us. The Creator has given us much. And so we have to look at that. So now I fight for recognition for my people. We have state recognition. But we need to have our rights restored to us. Those that went to the West, they have their federal recognition of government to government. Those in Alabama, they have their government to government. Those of us that stayed in the homeland, for some reason, we are refused a government to government relationship. So that's what I fight for, is so these children can know who they are. I have started a youth council, and I started them. I got some that's 4 years old, and they go to 17. And I want them to know that they are loved. I want to teach them their language. I want to teach them to farm. They've got a little garden, and they're putting in tomatoes, and they're going to put in beans and corn and squash. And they're going to learn to farm. They're going to learn to can that and to share with others. They're going to learn to play stickball. They're going to learn to stomp dance. They're going to learn the things of our ancestors. This is what we have to do. We have to teach our children. Don't let them say, well, I'm Muskogee Creek, and somebody says, well, what are your people like? Well, I don't know. Our children have to know who they are. You know, when they go to school, if they put down that they're Muskogee Creek or they're Native American, they erase it and they look at them and they say, well, you look white, you look Hispanic, or you look black. Our people are diversified. Who are they to say who we are? They do not know our hearts. They do not know who we are. So we have to fight for our freedom and our rights. And I applaud all of you for being here today and for standing your grounds. We have to heal. We cannot go forward. These children cannot continue to struggle for these things that we need to settle for them. I need to get federal recognition for my people. These children shouldn't have to keep going, trying to see what they can get. Your people should not carry these burdens in your heart. Creator made us equal, and we're going to fight as equals, brothers and sisters. Mado.
Well, you guys might as well quit looking at the run of the show, because every time I turn around, I think I did something else. You know, real quick, this wasn't put together by me. It wouldn't have happened, okay? But, you know, we had a lot of help. And David, can you raise your hand, please? David, Four Directions working with us. Cherie? It's Four Directions. I think Peyton's around here somewhere, unless she... Peyton? Peyton Healy. And then our daughter, Donna. And the actual person that runs it is Barbara Siemens, my wife. And again, this wouldn't have happened. I'd like for Cliff to raise his hand there a little bit, you know. This came together again because people work together. And I'm just so honored to meet all of you and have all you here and work with you. With that, the next speaker is Phyllis Hollowhorn, Wounded Knee Massacre descendant from Wounded Knee.
Kaya leam petuki dua ka Lakota yaka khirana pena sante waste chichapi prehanta hi ta lila danslel untita mitita kuyalel waita blakianka. First of all, I'd like to greet you with a warm handshake to all my relatives. Today, last night we had a run through. OJ had us talking about what we were going to say today. This morning I woke up and forgot all what I was going to say. So I'm just doing an impromptu speech right now, because my sister is going to come up and share our grandfather's statement after our grandfather, Choka Chokipapi, enemy afraid of him, gave his statement. And so my sister's going to read that. So I just want to say a little introduction for myself. I was born and raised in Wounded Knee. I still live there. I've lived there all my life. We, as descendants, it is our responsibility to preserve and to protect our relatives' grave. So that's what we do. We fight against exploitation and desecration of our relatives' grave. I am Phyllis Hollowhorn, and I have 17 grandchildren. I love each and every one of them. They're my world. I teach at our county school district. Last year, I taught kindergarten to 8th grade our language and our culture. This year, principal asked me, what do you want to teach this year? I said, I'm going to take a break. I want to teach kindergarten and 1st grade. I want to teach them the fluency of our language. We have guttural sounds, we have nasal sounds, and that is how we speak Lakota. So that is my purpose. But I had a new purpose. This morning I woke up and I thought about the 700 recently discovered graves of our relatives in Canada at the schools, their residential school, that they were just discovered last week. They tried to kill our language and culture, but they can't. They won't. Because I myself, and I have younger constituent teachers that are determined to teach our language and keep our culture alive. and we're going to continue to teach our Tlakozas, our grandchildren, our way of life and our language, so that nobody can ever take that away. So this morning, I just really appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak on behalf of my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren, and those coming behind us. I believe our ancestors are with us. They're watching over us. They give me the strength, because many times I'm afraid to speak in public. And this morning, I prayed, and I got the strength to come up here this morning, this afternoon, or no, this morning. So with that, I want to say thank you. Lila Wopilat Kanka Echichapi OJ. I want to give you a big thank you. Barb, I appreciate you. I've got to know you, and I really appreciate all the who you are. Wopilat Kanka. And Donna, I appreciate you for all the help. You're always there for us as descendants. Thank you. With that, I want to say thank you, and I'll end my little speech. Thank you.
Okay, I don't think I have to do any introducing because Phyllis took care of all of that. Linda, you want to come on up? She's trying to take my job. No.
Good morning, and forgive me if I make some mistakes while I'm talking. I'm not a good speaker, and I'm afraid to stand here before you. Our great-grandfather Solomon, afraid of enemy, Troka Krokipchapi, is who we come from. And today I'm gonna just read his statement, because I think it's only fitting and proper that I do this. And it's from this book. It's my mother's book, and it's called The Wounded Knee Massacre, and it's torn and tattered because it's old. But I will read my grandfather's statement. And this was written on May 25th, 1932, statement of afraid of the enemy. I am 78 years old, so you can judge that I know quite a lot of things which occurred. I'm not going to talk about these creeks and rivers. I know that I was with Bigfoot's band that was called over here. We came over here to see some of the Oglala chiefs and just unconcerned about anything else. When we saw the soldiers coming, we tied a white flag to a pole and held it so the soldiers could see it. We went into camp with them, and I never thought that anything would happen. I saw some of the soldiers and Indians and some of my relations, and was not afraid of anything that evening. I went over to see Bigfoot in a soldier's tent where he was sick. The next morning, the officer told Bigfoot that they wanted all his guns. He was our chief, and we looked to him to say something. But he was coughing all the time. Finally, he said, "You men better give him your guns. We are not on this trip to do any fighting, but we came over here to see our relatives and be at Red Cloud's council." Shortly after that, the soldiers started out among the Indians, searching them, and they went to our tents to search for things. We are a band of people that respected God, and we did not think there was going to be any harm done to them. I looked over and saw a soldier on a sorrel horse coming around the left end of the camp. I heard him give some command, and right after the command, it sounded like a lightning crash. That is all I know. When I became conscious, I was lying down. As I rose and started to go, I began to get unconscious again. For that reason, I do not know a great deal of what took place after this. I have my old cloak, and it has 9 bullet holes in it. I am shot all through the body. I may die any time from the effects of these wounds. I was bleeding from my mouth, my nose and mouth. I want my good friends to tell the good white people what they did to us here at Wounded Knee. We know he is our friend, and we know that some of the white people are good friends of the Indians, but most of them do not like us and not have sympathy for us poor Indians. The missionaries have been good friends to the Indians and love them. We do not have hate in our hearts for the white people, but the soldiers try to murder us, and we want the government to find out the truth. Not like the picture show that came here and had the Indians to act just like they wanted, but not the truth. Mrs. Roughfeather gave her statement only recently, and although she was present at the Wounded Knee, at the survivors' meeting at Wounded Knee in 1933, she did not speak, but her husband did. So she said she thought that was enough, as the government don't pay attention to what an Indian says anyway, but listens to a crooked white man anytime. This good old Indian lady is the only living woman that was in the Battle of Little Bighorn and the Wounded Knee Massacre. Her husband recently died, and she lives at the home with a married daughter. A friend of Mrs. Roughfeather's is given. Oh, a picture of Mrs. Roughfeather is given. I grew up in Wounded Knee. I lived there my whole life. And I strongly, behind the scenes, I fight for our people who were killed there, the children, women, the old men. And any attempts to exploit, commercialize Wounded Knee, I am right there. I'm right there to fight that. And I will continue that till the day I die. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. The next person that I'd like to introduce is Kevin Sinha with Civic Georgia. If you heard Principal Chief McCormick talk about the Youth Council, Kevin has really been pitching in and helping the Lower Muskogee Creek tribe. So with that, Kevin.
Thank you. I'm honored that many of the leaders here with us are my family. In the shared fight for equity, humanity, and justice. I'm Kevin Shankar Sinha with Civic Georgia. We work on community building and civic empowerment in Georgia's most silenced and othered communities. And I want to thank Chief McCormick and OJ for inviting me here to be a part of this in solidarity. We are here today in part because what Manny and Chief McCormick and Phyllis and Linda just shared, what happened at Wounded Knee, at Little Bighorn, and in Georgia, and in so many other places, all of that has happened, must continue to be shared, not forgotten. We are here today because an important part of justice is all of us learning and teaching about the erasure, the racism, and the discrimination that happened and continues to happen to so many people of color. Just this month in Georgia, on Muskogee Creek and Cherokee land, which is yet to be recognized by the U.S. federal government, the Georgia State Board of Education passed a resolution that our children should not have to learn about our cultures and about the racism our people have experienced. In an effort to maintain their power, they are working to gerrymander our electoral districts, to erode our identities even further, and silence our votes. These efforts are happening not just in Georgia, but around the nation. But we are also creating hope together. Amongst her many efforts advocating with her people, Principal Chief McCormick of the Lower Muskogee Creek Tribe has relaunched the Youth Tribal Council, an effort we are honored to collaborate on, an effort to ensure the youngest members of the tribe recognize their own power and embrace Muskogee stories of history and origin, Muskogee traditions of medicine, stomp dancing, and stickball, and the Muskogee language. We are creating hope in that together we continue to gather as we are here today, to march, to rally, to organize and vote to ensure that voices of color and stories of color are lifted up. In 2 recent elections in Georgia, we all worked to ensure that Native voters, Black voters, and all voters of color in Georgia were empowered to lift their voices. And so they did in record numbers. And that was just the beginning. There is hope in young people of color across the nation redefining what advocacy looks like. Some of those young people are here with us today, and I'm grateful for them. As we do that, we fold in the stories and guidance of our elders and our ancestors. I'm inspired by and so grateful to the descendants who shared their stories here today and the Buffalo Soldiers on this historic occasion, because justice means both healing from the past and building our future together. Thank you to everybody here today.
Somebody said we're actually on time, so I think I'm gonna take a bathroom break about a half hour, and then maybe we can run late. But no, with you know, it's I can't say it again. I can feel our relatives here. You know, not just mine. You know, I guess what I'd like to do before I call it Violet is for everybody just to take a moment to close your eyes and think of the people we lost that were fighting for us to live. This is the Veterans Memorial, and as I said, it's Native, it's Alaskan, and it's Hawaiian, but it was dedicated to members of tribes that died for this country. And to this day, if you notice, we post the colors. We don't do anything until we post the colors, we do our song, and we make sure that it's honored. Not so much of, you know, because we don't serve our country basically because it's, you know, we are a warrior society, but we serve our country because it's our country. And we just happen to have somebody else running it right now. It's like the lease is going to run out here pretty soon. You know, we may raise it, I'm not sure, but you know, I want to thank everybody for being here. So with that, Violet, you want to come up? You want me to have the drum group start so you can?
Trip over everything. Okay, I don't know why he has us facing that way every time. Everybody has to face that way with him. Okay. Ho mitaki epi ampetuki le chantewa shtea. Natrachi dokel wicho unkia piktelena etka Danya lahal umshnihna wichakiksuya unchi Lala Lakshi Tui Hena Wichukik Siapi Chalena Dokil Woblaking Tehe Mitakuye Kaka Wawa un le Chankpeo Wakpahel
Hetana Pachahe Oblakikte. My name is Violet Ketches. I am Hohoju. I'm from Bridger, often called Takini. Takini Hemacha. I'm Takini, survivor, a descendant. My relatives, my grandmother, my great-grandmother, Unchiwasu, was at Greasy Grass. She is our grand matriarch. She was a medicine woman. She was also at Wounded Knee. She's a very strong woman. And it is through her strength, through her voice, that I will talk today. Cultural values. Her son-in-law was my grandfather, Leon Holy. Before I go on with this story, I'm going to tell you one more thing about my great-grandmother, Wasu. She was married to Blue Hair, Lala Blue Hair, Donald. My grandmother's last name, maiden name, is Blue Hair, because the process of assimilation put us in that way to use English names, Christian names. So this is how it began. My grandmother, Sarah Jane Blue Hair, met my grandfather, Leon Holy. They married. And the way she met him is that as one of the he used to play flutes for her. That's how they met. But as one of the boys who was at Wounded Knee at the time of the chaos, at the time of the massacre, he was running. This is his story. He was running, and he was running towards the creek. He saw a soldier pick up a baby, throw it in the air, and shoot it. He was taken aback. He stopped just for that short moment, and he ran again. Some of the other boys from that knew him were running. They yelled at him, "Come this way." His name was Hanska. They ran down in the ravine, and there was another one. He was one of Hanska's younger brother. And as they ran, they saw a little boy, 4 years old, sitting there crying, and he was bleeding. They picked him up and they took him. They took turns carrying him. They were running, and they ran down to the creek. Soldiers were following them, shooting. There were people scattering all over the place. But they ran. Finally, they were able to stop, so they looked back and they seen a soldier on a horse coming. It was cold. There was snow on the ground. And so they took off running again, and they ran until it was dark, and they kept running. They got as far as they could, and they hid in some plum thickets. and stayed the night. The next day they started to walk. And they looked back, and way up on the ridge somewhere, they saw some horseback riders. They didn't know if it was soldiers or, their own people, but they took off running again, and they hid in some more thickets. And from then on, that's the way they traveled. They stayed in the thickets during the day and traveled at night during a blizzard. They traveled all the way back to Bridger. And when they came in, the oldest one, Huska, he started singing that song. And the people that met him hollered, yelled. Other people came running to meet them. And they took him into a big, long log house. And they told their stories. The little boy was shot in the hip. During the time they were running, when they stopped his bleeding. They cleaned it for him, and they stuffed it with dried sage, and they kept it that way till they got home. That little boy, his name was James E. Highhawk. We call him Lala Jim. We knew him. I was born 1950. In 1950, the Bridger Day School, his wife was the cook there. And he would tell us his story of his remembrance. I cannot tell his story. One of the other things that my grandfather saw was a woman lying dead and her baby nursing her on nursing, and the soldier came and shot the baby dead. I would like everyone to ask, just take 1 moment, 1 minute of silence for the kids up in Canada found in a mass grave of our people at Wounded Knee in a mass grave. This is inhumane. This is not how human beings are treated. And in conclusion, I want to say that was not the first massacre. It was the last massacre. The first massacre happened at Slim Buttes near Lemon, South Dakota, or Bison, South Dakota. And I went there with my grandma as a child. And she'd walk around there and cry and tell that story. Both stories are horrific. And I'm really, in a way, as a voice for them, to stand here and tell their story, to thank the Buffalo Soldiers, to thank OJ, to thank Ms. Kalamani for asking me to come. I was trying not to cry. Her grandfather, this is Florence, her name is Wakasota. In Lakota, her grandfather was great-grandfather was Council Bear, one of the survivors of Wounded Knee as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Violet. Next, I'd like to ask Dina to come up. Dina's from Cheyenne River, and she actually started this trip with us, 2 years ago? We came up here when the Remove the Stain Act was first introduced, and you know, we're here not because tribes or tribal council. We're here because this is what the Descendants did, and it's what they want. So with that, Dina.
First of all, I would like to thank the Creator for bringing us here safely, soundly. And also, I want to thank the family, the Four Directions, Brent, OJ, his wife, Donna, and the whole team for bringing us here. Yeah, my name is Dina Buffalo Waluki. I'm from Bridger, South Dakota, in a little community on the Cheyenne River Reservation. I was born and raised there, and that was where our ancestors, led by Bigfoot, Spotted Owl, went through. They went through that little community onto Wounded Knee. And my story is the same as my brother, Manny Ironhawk, and it will be same as my Likshi, Brian Charging Clown. We come from the same family of Ghost Source and his son that were killed at Wounded Knee. And our grandmother, great-grandmother, Alice Herschel Warbonnet, was a survivor. And we have a little school there, a community school, that's from kindergarten to 12th grade, that serves the three communities on the west end of Cheyenne River. It's called Takini, in honor of the Wounded Knee survivors. Hence Wounded Knee, Takini means survivors. Today I stand here with sorrow and anger of what my sister felt. When I talk about the massacre that happened to our men, women, children, our families, even babies, I feel the sadness and of our families that had to go through that, who've seen their babies die. When the soldiers came and they got everything, their guns, any weapons that they could have used to protect themselves. And then they were shot like animals. They were chased like animals. When I tell my story, when I think about my relatives, when I tell my story, I get so emotional. I get sad because I know our relatives' blood, our ancestors' blood are still running through our veins. And I can feel this heartache that they felt. And to be put in a mass grave, just thrown in there like animals. We're just here to fight for justice for our ancestors, and to remove the medals that men were given for bravery, for heroic works. That's, to me, that is just wrong. That is wrong, because they just killed men, women, children that couldn't protect themselves. But I stand here as a proud Lakota when I think of my grandpa Gold Source and all of them that were brave. And it's sad to tell my children and grandchildren what our families had to go through, because the racism is still here. It's still alive. They still go through that. But I tell them, keep your prayers, and know that you come from a strong family. You're a strong Lakota. That's why we are here. And yesterday we talked about hope. My hope is that let's remove the stain that goes through and it is past. And so that my children and grandchildren would be prouder yet. And that is my hope here, that because we are all here, descendants of Wounded Knee Massacre. And I pray for the people that are to decide on those proclamations or acts, that they have a heart, that they think of their families. Just think of what their families would have went through if that was their ancestors, that was their family. So I just want to say that much. I just thank all the people that helped us get here, and especially our families back home that are praying for us, and especially the little children, our grandchildren, that we have broken a way through them, for them, a road that they can stand up for themselves and know that we tried just like our ancestors. I thank you very much for listening to me. God bless everybody.
We're almost done. Next one I'd like to introduce is Brian Charging Cloud. And, I only met Brian on the phone about 3 or 4 days ago, and he's given me a hard time ever since. Retired Navy, works at the Wounded Knee School, and is actually here on behalf of the Wounded Knee School. So with that, Brian, can you come up and say some words?
I want to say thank you to OJ for all that he did. And I also want to thank the Buffalo soldiers that are here in the 4 directions. My name is Brian Charging Cloud, and right now I'm getting older and older, and I'm happy to see my niece and nephew, my son. They will carry this on. Keep going. What happened at Wounded Knee? We all know what happened. I worked 8 miles from Wounded Knee, so I passed through there every day. And sometimes I look around, but I have to be strong because of I work at the school, and it's called Wounded Knee. So we always someone always brings that story up, but we try to remember it in a good way, because I keep teaching my children that I teach that, like the circle in the back of me, I told them that that's a road. You're born up there, and then you go to the left, and that there's a black road and a red road. So I tell them to stay on that red road all the time. Sometimes we will go into the black road, but you'll come out of it. Sometimes when you have a dream, it's not going to come true. But that road keeps going, it's your life. We don't know what we're going to do in life. Just like O.J. said, he's a Navy, 20-year Navy man. I didn't know that I was going to do that. The only reason I did that was because maybe I didn't have any money to go to college. I tried college and I only lasted 3 semesters. But I finished it all the way to a master's degree. But today we remember that all of us, from now on, we need to really help our children, but always remember what happened to us at Wounded Knee. And also, I think there's other places, like one she mentioned. So we need to be strong. We need to be strong for our families. We need to be strong for who we are. But always remember that. And I'm really glad that O.J. brought this on so that we will remember it. I know it's a sad day, but we have to look up. There's such a thing, there's a forgiveness, but there's hope. We all need to work together, whether we're black, white, red, or yellow. That circle has all of those colors. And we need to be strong. And what I'm doing today in my later years of my life, I teach the language. I always tell these kids, remember your language, remember who you are. And today, you got to have that education. Many years back, it wasn't really important, but today, you got to have that. So I tell them to keep going through that circle. Stay on that red road. You'll be in the black road. You might have a dream and it might end right there, but you're going to change. You don't know what you're going to be until you finish that circle. Right in here somewhere, you might find something that you like. You're going to stay with that. But whatever you do, keep it in the red road, like that. I always tell them that. So I know it's a sad day, but I think we need to be strong, happy, and work together. Because that circle has all the people in this world. We suffer. There's places that people went through the same thing that we did. And that's all. So, O.J., I'd like to thank you for... I want to thank O.J. for having us here. I didn't know I was coming till Monday. So all I had was, I put everything in my bag and I put it on the floor and I forgot it. So I had to buy a shirt and I had to borrow this. And I wear my Wranglers, my old Wranglers. But I'm here and I'm glad to be here. Thank you for everything. Everybody have a blessed day and live that red road. Wo Pilat Chanka.
Now, you people that have a program are saying, all right, we're done. Well, I changed it. You know, sometimes things happen where you can't put it on paper. And when I was doing this, you know, trying to put this together, and then I heard the Descendants. And then I know that, I said this before, 130 years they've been trying to do this. 130 years in December 131. And that all this time, and I say it's a burden, but I get that wrong. It's not a burden. It's a pride that they have, that they carry on for their ancestors. I was corrected on that last night, and that's why I'm saying it today. But with that, what I want to do is have Claudia, Michonne, and Florence come on up. And these are the children and the grandchildren that, if the descendants of this generation cannot get done, is going to be on their shoulders. So come on up. Please say your name, where you're from, and who your parents are.
Hello, my name is Michonne Shaving. I'm from the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe. I am Lakota and Dakota, and my parents are Manny and Renee Ironhawk.
Hello, my name's Florence. I'm from Cheyenne River. I'm Lakota, and my parents are Violet Catches.
And then we're going to have you say your Lakota name. You'll start it, and then they
Can I say something? Hami takiapi, chantewashte pe chizapi, tropi washte manchapi na Claudia Ironhawk manchapi, wakbawashte hemataha na wichaganakapi sha ktawati, ohoju na oglala hemacha. Hi everyone, my name is Claudia Ironhawk. I'm from the Cheyenne River Sioux Tribe Reservation, and I'm from Red Scaffold. I'm Hohoju and Oglala. And I would like to ask for forgiveness for speaking in front of my elders. Lechia tayaya hipi cha li lawashte mawashte, chante mawashte. As my dad stated, the weight of the massacre has been passed through my family with great sadness and tears, as have the many other traumas that have greatly affected our communities. In some ways, I cannot fully grasp the full scope of everything that has transpired here today, but I really, truly feel the connection, unity, and solidarity extended to us by the Buffalo Soldiers Association. I really appreciate what those who have come before me have said, and especially in the realm of language revitalization. I apologize, as I'm not fully there yet to really speak in all of this in Lakota, but one day I will. And I intend to continue on this legacy in whatever way that this requires me to. And I am truly touched by this event, and I appreciate the strength of our elders. I thank the Buffalo Soldiers Association for being here in support and solidarity, and I hope that all of our communities can move forward with healing. Wopila Tchanka.
don't know how to write. Wakasota.
Okay.
Just say Wakasota.
My Indian name is Wakasota. Did I?
Thank you.
My Lakota name is Tashiaganupa Scully.
It's nothing like being pulled off a reservation, put in a plane, flown to Washington, sit there and really enjoy it and say, oh yeah, you're going to speak at the very last minute. And they go, why? Because I just thought of it. So we have one more thing before we go, but why I wanted to bring him up here is we need your help in ensuring that they, as our future generation, don't carry that burden. So with that, one more thing that I didn't put on the run of show. Tommy, where's those Buffalo Soldiers when you need them? And where's Cliff? Oh, I was going to take it for him because it looks pretty cool, but I'll let him get it now.
From my family, on behalf, Cliff says he's always doing some crime. I don't know how to accept this because I did some crying on the way over. Me and my CEO there, we fussing back and forth. And I said, wow, back to Washington, D.C. At our event that's coming up, I'll probably repeat this at our rodeo. Thanks for meeting Mama Marcella. Of course, she's in charge. She's the officer. And got two officers, Lieutenant and Marcella. On behalf of the Buffalo Soldiers and the ones that are at home, my team of 8, and I have Lieutenant Cliff show everybody. We are going to present him, I know he's going to wear it proudly, and a picture of his team. The Buffalo Soldier pin that he can wear on his lapel, and a picture of course, yours truly up front. I want to make everybody laugh and say I'm Tommy Running Bear. So here is a nice picture for Cliff, signed by my team, and the Buffalo Soldier pin. So every time he look at it, he say, yeah, that's Tommy Running Bear. Because with the mission at hand and what we did today for our Native American brothers and sisters, we are going to actually visit Manny's place in South Dakota, and I want to make that this year, around about August. Hang up there with Renee and Manny. Hey, can I go bear hunt? I asked about bear hunt, but ain't nobody saying nothing.
Buffalo.
Oh, did y'all hear me? Bear hunt. So I'm gonna try to get some of my local cowboys and take the trip up to South Dakota. And so as my son Aaron, bull riding by the way, places LT pin on. I hope we can do this again. Do y'all want me back in Washington, D.C.? Because I know they won't run me out of here.
No.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron? You know, well, it's so funny. We were coming here this morning, and I actually walked with Aaron and Tommy, and I was thinking, you know, it's not often where you see Buffalo Soldiers walking down the street in Washington with the Sioux. I mean, they're either there for my protection or they're taking me to jail. I didn't know which one yet. So, with that, I'm going to do the closing. Once we do this, then we are going to do prayer. And Brian, I hope you can do a closing prayer for us, and then we are going to retrieve the colors. So with that, I have a little bit of humor sometimes. Yeah, and I hear over and over, and you hear different things being said, and one of the things I hear on TV and from white people is that they died in their sleep. In an Indian country, they go, he woke up dead. I mean, it's just such a difference in it all. And so here's what I want to part with. And basically, I want to wake somebody up dead. This is from General Miles. General Miles was in charge of the whole militia in Indian Country and in South Dakota. He was not at Wounded Knee, but he got there shortly after. And so I thought that ending this, we heard the Wounded Knee descendants and what they said and how horrific it was. But I wanted you to hear the words of a commander that actually saw the brutality of the Civil War, was a decorated war hero. And these are the words he said. A wholesale massacre occurred, and I have never heard of a more brutal, cold-blooded massacre than at Wounded Knee. About 200 women and children were killed and wounded. Women with little children on their back, and small children, gunpowder burned by the men who killed them, being so near as to burn their flesh and their clothing with the powder of their guns, and nursing babies with 5 bullet holes through them. That doesn't deserve a medal. So, I guess what I'd like to see is we need to pull those medals. We have Native Americans that have proudly served this country. One sitting right there that is an actual hero. We have Native Americans that have received the Congressional Medal of Honors. They deserved it because they saved lives and they fought in battle and they are warriors. These were not warriors. These medals don't be deserved. So with that, I'm going to close and ask Brian to come up to do a prayer. Then we're going to do a retrieval of color. And I think what we'd like to do, the Descendants, the Native American Indian Museum has said that they will accept the Buffalo Soldiers Proclamation presented to them by the Wounded Knee Descendants. So, we might have that hanging up in our museum too. So, Brian.
Before I pray, can everybody stand up? Inajin po. Inajin means stand up. Natuhuni tikteni lechel ukaite hemajini elwalomashnash. Ktalaha wauha olowan lilap techelacha ahia maka chahe ahien na wachwakin. Oma kiapo. Wakan tranka ampe tukile wash agmaya yo aye. Wakan tranka ampe tukile pilamaya yelo. Lakota, little Lakota, no, le Dwekas Lilhi, Namilazata, Skana, Shana, Sapina, Zi. you can't pilang ya. Na le ta ku you hunglokte. Le na wa unshakot. We choni, we chon. Our way of life will be stronger. Our languages will be stronger. And I want to thank everyone that put this gathering on. La kantankalana pilangyapi. No gana ake chumpik desich. La kantanka do kishke do kekel unglapik de do huch. Down kihuni pikte. Na tiwahe wangchun kaltake. Pilangyapelo. Ohetchetuelo.
Thank you.